rocking with some of the realest coaches in the game. Coach RB and Coach CB. Area code 459.
What up, Area Code 459? It's your boy, Coach B. I'm here with my co-host, my dog, Coach CB. What's up, CB?
What's up, Coach? How you doing?
Man, I'm blessed. I'm super excited to get this thing started today. Let's just go ahead and thank some people before we get started.
Want to give a shout out to In-House Inc. for the awesome job that they have done creating our logo. We also want to give a shout out to J Make Crafts for all of the awesome household items that she creates, especially with our shirts that we have. We also want to give a shout out to our guy, George Frost, for getting our East Bay store up and running. If you want our logo on all your favorite Nike and Jordan apparel, make sure you hit the link below and check out our East Bay store. Most importantly, we want to thank our friends and our family for all the support that they've given us. We couldn't have done this without them. And then we can't forget the man upstairs for all of the wonderful vision that he's given us for Area Code 459.
Man, I'm super excited. I'm fired up. I feel like Jalen Rose. Ain't gonna be able to do it, bro. Today we're going over another topic Tuesday. And today we're talking about the strength of empowerment, man. Empowerment is such a big thing that we leverage here at Area Code 459. If you look at the Oxford Dictionary, empowerment is defined as the process of becoming stronger and more confident, especially in controlling one's life and claiming one's rights. Woo. But empowerment can also have many different meanings with many different people. It really depends on your experiences, your circumstances, your hopes, and your dreams. And here are some things that you can do. You can speak and act honestly with your fellow peers. You can listen to others. You can help illustrate your points with visual aids. You can teach classes, teach communities. You can get involved in communities, get involved in different art projects. You can mentor younger generations like children and students. You can even volunteer at local organizations. Those are just all some things that you can do to not only build your empowerment, but also empower others. Let's really talk about this conversation today about the strength of empowerment, how it has played a part in our lives. CB, when I think about empowerment, I zone into the root word power, and I automatically think strong. How has your circumstances and experience led to development of your strength within your life?
I would say it's helped define who I am. You know, like growing up with my parents divorced, I really had to start living my life with adversity because now you have to split holidays, you have to go back and forth between houses, you have to do X, Y, and Z, and it just makes life a lot more complicated, but it teaches you how to be adverse. It teaches you also how to communicate between people because sometimes what one parent tells you is not what the other parent tells you. So now you have to figure out, okay, how can I bridge the gap between this communication and being a mediator and so to say. But I also think my life has given me power and helped me think strongly because I've been through a lot of ups and downs when it comes to like my body. When it like I've had hand surgery, I've had knee surgery, I've had different like when I was 2, I had rheumatoid arthritis as a kid and I stopped walking and I had to relearn how to walk again, and I had to learn to trust my body when it came to like pain and knowing like, okay, I'm healed, so now I have to make sure that I fix all of the limping and, and all of the above. And so and mentally it wears on you because when you have stuff happen to you like that, you have to retrain your mind and be like, I am okay. I'm not hurt anymore. Okay, let's see how I can build myself up, give myself confidence, re-empower myself to know that like I am healthy. I can do everything that everybody else is doing. I don't have to hinder myself, I don't have to have a mentality of being hurt all the time. Like
Right.
I can go out and do stuff. And so I think that's how a lot of my experiences have strengthened my life. It's really taught me a lot of lessons, and it's allowed me to be a leader as well because I always try and leverage my story. I always try and use different things to help grow me. Like I had a lot of problems when it came to identity, like and insecurity. and it always translated to my sports. You know, I didn't really have a lot of confidence on the court. I never really had a lot of confidence in competition when I did gymnastics. But in basketball, especially when I was in college, I really worked on that confidence. I really worked on that insecurity and learning how to be a next play type of person and let things go. And once I really did that, it empowered me as a woman to really have a voice and to use my story to speak a life into other people, you know, and it's that's how I developed as a leader, you know, and I see and hear from people that I'm not around anymore, like my old teammates or the community that I was involved in Pensacola, and they always tell me like, we miss you so much. You're the light that you shined here is still shining, even though you're not here anymore. And you know, that's the stuff that I love to hear. That's better than I won $1 million or I got a gold medal or anything like that, because that is what's gonna be my reward later when I leave the earth, you know? So that's how it's powered my life up.
Man, that's awesome, man. You powered me up. And honestly, if you didn't tell that part of the story, you honestly wouldn't know, because you really carry yourself well. You wouldn't know that you had to, go through those trying times with trying to, figure out the difference in teachings from two different homes, and then, also carrying it on the sports and your discernment and your empowerment. I'm pretty much the same way, but a little bit different. Being a Black African American man, from a family of military background. My grandfather fought in World War II. Both my aunt, uncle, and so all three, and my dad, they all fought in the Gulf War. And I've had great uncles fought in Vietnam. So it's just, big military background from Jackson, Mississippi. If anybody knows your history, if anybody knows, kind of the shape of this country, a lot of African American families were sharecroppers, very poor, and a lot of them got out of the South two ways: either military or move into cities, to big industrial plants where they could get jobs. Well, my family did both. We were a military family, and we moved to Gary, Indiana, right outside of Chicago, where Gary, Indiana had one of the top steel mills in the country, U.S. Steel. And what I learned back then, growing up in that experience, was that even though your skin color is different, you have to be bold. I was taught very early at a very young age to be bold, and it wasn't always like a black and white thing either. So I don't want anybody to ever kind of misconstrue like my grandparents grew me up or raised me as a Black Panther or anything like that. It was just being bold in everything that I did, being bold at church, being bold in Sunday school, being bold in school. I had a rule when I was a basketball coach, like, hey, you're gonna sit in the front seat, or you're gonna sit in the front seats of the class. I used to have my basketball players wear a shirt and tie on game day. I even went to far as putting blazers on them. And those are all things that teach young men to be bold, right? Hey, sit in front of the class. Hey, dress like a professional. Show the teachers, show your classmates that you're not only professional, but show them like, hey, I fit in, I can do this, I can make things happen, even though I also play a sport, that idea of student athlete. And that was something, like I said, that I got at a really, really, really young age. The other experience I would say would be becoming an avid reader. I was a really bad stutterer back in the day. I'm talking about couldn't get words out. Really, 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 really had issue with it. I mean, even in my 30s, I still have that pause moment where I'm trying to collect my thoughts because my brain's moving so fast. And I became an avid reader. And the way the doctor told me back then in the 90s wasn't, hey, let's put him on Ritalin, let's put him on ADHD medicine and all this stuff. He was just like, no, he just needs to read. Everything, every chance he gets, put his eyes on something, read, read, read. But as you read and gain more knowledge, you seem to become more empowered because you start learning things that necessarily maybe aren't taught to you, or it may be different than what you're being taught. And then you can kind of leverage the two and find, like you said, kind of like that happy median, or at the same time, find the reason why this is not um, this is not something that I'm being taught, or why is this something that may be different in my family or in my community or in my culture. So I became a really avid reader, and I feel like reading and being pushed by my grandparents, aunts, uncles, and dad to be powerful and bold were the things that led to the strength in my life. Caitlin, people sometimes mistake that strength and confidence, though, with cockiness. Name a person who displays or displayed the confidence you like to emulate.
Uh, that's a good question. I would say two people, you and Coach Avery. I know I always leverage both of you guys, but if it wasn't for either of you, I would have never taken steps to become who I am today. Um, Coach Avery was the hardest person on me ever in my life, in my opinion. I spent, I would leave practice. We would get done with practice around 6 or 7, and I would leave straight from there and go straight to the community center.
Mm,
And I valued the time I spent around him.
mm,
And one time, he sat me down for an hour and a half and
mm,
just ripped into me because that environment can be kind of toxic if you don't have if you aren't grounded in who you are, and even if as a young woman too, just being in a different environment, it can kind of shape and change you because they say those that you hang around the most are those that you or the person that you will actually start to become. And I
mm,
think I hung around in that environment so much that I kind of started to lose sight of who I was as a person.
mm,
And he sat me down one time and he said, "You're changing and it's not for the good."
mm,
And he ripped into me and he said, "I don't know if you realize it, but this X, Y, and Z is what you're struggling with, and we need to work on it together." And um and it opened my eyes because a lot of times when you're inside the picture, you can't see the whole picture.
mhm,
Inside the picture frame, you can't see the whole picture. And so I was standing inside the picture frame and I couldn't see the whole picture. And once he told me that, he he's one of those people that I don't want to disappoint because he's invested so much into me. And it's just like, okay, I know Coach Avery um is telling me the truth. He loves me. He's giving me this advice, and now I need to take it and see how I can grow and be better.
mm,
And once he told me that, once we had that conversation, he's never said that to me again. He
mm,
never had to because I went and I changed my life. Not really changed my life all the way around, but the things that I was doing, I guess that he saw in me that wasn't who I was,
mm,
as the woman that I walked into the door with originally when I met him. I made sure that I fixed that and was more
mm,
conscious about it. And same thing with you. It's like you were with me from day one, and you were always so confident, and people always would talk to me like, "Oh, he's so cocky and arrogant. Blah blah blah, whatever." And I was like, I like we always said last episode, no, you guys just don't know him.
mhm,
Like he's confident because he knows what he's doing. He believes in himself, and it comes across that way because it's threatening to you,
mhm,
and that's not his fault. That's your fault for being insecure around him. You know what I mean? And that taught me, and I used to be that way. Like I used to be, oh, Coach Britt is yelling at me, he hates me,
mhm,
blah, blah. And I'm just like, no, he doesn't hate me, but he's just being hard on me because he knows the kind of person that I am, and my dreams and my goals and my aspirations, and he's trying to get me there.
mhm,
And once I had a change of heart and a change of mind, our relationship really started to grow and flourish.
mhm,
And I don't even know if it's anything that you ever knew, but once I made that change, and I was just like, I spent more time around you and you gave me more opportunities and really pushed me. That's when I was like, okay, I have to have confidence in what I do
mhm,
because we work hard. And then I went to college and I had your number and we always talked. And I would talk to you about it and you'd tell me the same thing. Like, you work hard. Why are you nervous?
right, right,
Don't be nervous because all your hard work's gonna pay off. And so between you and Coach Avery, um, y'all's confidence and security in who you are is really what helped me be able to get that in my life.
right. And we talk about in life, we talk about networking, and we talk about being in a network and being able and being ready, when your time comes, like getting lucky, right? When preparation meets opportunity. And I knew that in you as soon as that light switch flipped. Honestly, I don't know when it flipped, but I did see it gradually flip. And the reason why is because the community in which you lived in, I was the outsider. Who is this guy? He wasn't a superstar like basketball player in high school around here. And honestly, when I played high school basketball in Panama City, I didn't really like it anyway. It was about playing your booster club son, and there was a lot of shiesty stuff anyway when I was in high school. And the reason why I know that is because it happened to me when I was playing high school football, and then I get to college and I'm a captain and one of the top players, and I'm like, that what I went through is not real, you know what I mean? In that small community, but not to throw shade on it, I just know that working in that environment, being a teacher, being somebody that is supposed to teach and empower and mentor somebody, you have to let them know like this world is a lot bigger than this little community. And I'm going to equip you with the tools you need, because once you step outside the box, you really going to have you're going to have a tough time, or it's going to be easy. And honestly, your address book is 10 times the size of my address book when it comes to coaches. You have made so many connections. You've stepped outside the box. You've moved to different cities. You work for men's young men's basketball program as a female. What I mean? You're stepping out there. You play college ball when nobody told you you could. So those are all big things. And honestly, it's not for the weak at heart. My two people, actually I got four, but and I'll go through them quickly, but two of them are actually people that are famous I've never met, but they embody exactly kind of like my attitude. I started teaching in 2010. That means in 2008 I was inspired by somebody that honestly, his presence divided a lot of people, because a lot of people couldn't get on board with who he was, or who he could be. And that was President Barack Obama. Like, to me, I went through 12 years of schooling, and all the presidents were white dudes. I went through 12 years of schooling, and you had to go to Harvard, Yale, Princeton, right? Don't like that, because I was a political science major pre law, so I was big into like history and stuff. So I was history buff, and you think to yourself like, man, like this is the image of that office. But then when 2008, it's somebody that's totally different, that's changing, that's shaping, that's making things happen. He's talking about women, he's talking about this and that, and you're thinking to yourself like, man, like that is just an exuberance of confidence in somebody. And the other guy is Kobe Bryant. And you and I talk about Kobe a lot. And I just was talking about a video I saw of you, and all this stuff, Mamba mentality. He's great. Rest in peace to the late Kobe Bryant, who just passed away this past year. But you hear about all the greatness, right? But then you see a moment where he's at practice and he's basically ripping his team with so many four-letter words. You're thinking to yourself like, wow, what do those guys think about that guy in that moment, right? But once again, that's that confidence. Like he even said in the four-letter dissertation he was having, he basically said like, yo, I come to practice to get better. Like, you know what I mean? Like I've got to be able to do this in a game. I got to go out there and perform. There's gonna be 30,000 people at the Staples Center. I don't got time to waste my time. You see what I'm saying? And you think to yourself like, wow, and a lot of people, especially in the high school frame of things when they're playing sports, some people get it and some people don't. Like the really, really good players that are in like high school level, college level, you'll see that they're playing for something else. I think we had Coach Casey Long on the show from Murray State, and he said, "Hey, I want you to play not only for the name on the front, but definitely the name on the back. Remember where you came from. Play for that community." And when I went in their community, I didn't know anybody, and honestly, I didn't care. I played for the love of the game. Like we were talking in one of our episodes, like always revert back to the love of the game. And I also was playing for my community or coaching for my community. I want my community to be proud of the product we put on the floor. The other two are just women in my life, man. And like I said, I leverage women a lot in my life. Why? Because I grew up with a sister, so she's like my best friend. And it was two teachers, and they were two white ladies. One was real short, about 4'10", and another one was not too much taller than her, at like 5'1". And they ended up being my colleagues when I first started teaching, but they remembered when I was a student. And the first teacher was my AP English teacher, who actually her husband pulled me aside and said, yo, like, you're going to go to college one day. I was the first person to graduate college in my family. I'm the only person in my family that has a master's degree. This lady empowered me and told me, yo, like, you're going to go to college. But when you walk in my class, you're going to be sitting with a bunch of students that parents went to college, grandparents went to college, got money to go to college. You have got to put on that face, put on that sense like, I belong, right? And if you feel like at any moment that you don't belong, you better let me know, because I'm going to tell you why you do belong. She never let me fail, right? I actually, that's the only AP class that I didn't pass as well, which is crazy. Because she told me like, and I mean, when pass meaning I didn't receive um a a score that needed to have college credit, so I had to basically take the dual enroll. But at the same time, she pushed me so hard to say, hey, you're going to college, and that became like my pathway. The other lady was my government teacher, Jenny Collier. And crazy thing about her is she kicked me out of her class because I was in there being silly, football player, jumping up and down, being silly. And she sent me to the principal's office. And when she came to the principal's office, she gave me one of those Kobe Bryant lecture 4-letter words. And I'm like, dude, like the principal's letting this lady curse at me. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. And but she was like, look, like, I will work hard for you if you work hard for me. But I'm from DC. I'm from Washington. I went to Georgetown. You're not about to play me. I know what you're doing. You need to get right. And I got right. I apologized to her because I never wanted disrespect. And I know that my grandmother would have been upset. I know if my dad would have found out, he would have been upset as well. And we became colleagues. And the crazy thing is, I got a 5 on her AP exam. And the next thing you know, I go to school for political science. I work for the governor of Alabama. I get my master's degree in history. And you think to yourself, like, all this chain of events, she started all this thought process of who I am. But the thing about the empowerment and the cockiness is these are two really, really, really short ladies that would never let you play them. They always stayed on top of the game, always exuberated that confidence and that strength. And sometimes cocky at times, but at the same time, it was definitely something that pushed me to be who I am. CB, in history, there have been many figures who inspire others to go after their hopes and dreams and never let circumstances affect you. Have you ever met or studied someone that's done this, and how has it helped you?
Number one, Inky Johnson. And we always talk about knowing who you are. And every day, every morning, I get on Instagram and I look up his page because every morning he posts something new because I know I need to watch and hear what he has to say. Because it empowers me. It also reminds me things that I need reminding of. It also lets me know that no matter what I go through, there's always some way to continue to grow and work and get out of the situation. Um, and the second one would be, I mean, you leveraged Kobe already, but um, Kobe's mindset, everything that he embodies. I don't know if a lot of people know this, but when he was playing basketball, he had to create to have work-life balance. He had to create that Mamba mentality, so he could differentiate between Kobe on the court and Kobe off the court.
Mm.
And I did the same thing. It's like on the court, I have to be confident. I have to not let people run through me. I have to kind of have that arrogance and that I belong here type of mentality. And off the court, it's like, okay, I still have to be humble. I still have to accept constructive criticism. I still have to listen. I still have to be Caitlin Benedict and be there for my friends and everything like that and my family. So Kobe really helped me learn how to be confident on the court and in the moment, but at the same time leave everything that happened there on the court and be able to go to my friends and my family and still show up as Caitlin.
Yeah.
And I think the last one, when it comes to history, I Black Panther is one of my favorite movies, and Chadwick Boseman, the character that he portrayed in that movie, and the character that he personified, I feel like it empowered the whole entire United States of America. Um, and for one reason only, and it taught you that everybody has power in who they are. And if you don't show up as you every day, then you're doing everyone a disservice. Because there's something inside of everyone that nobody has. And if you shine bright, then you will become the most empowering source for the people around you. And I think that's what Black Panther did, because it gave people a voice, but it also gave people a way to really have confidence in who they are and show them that you can be all that you inspire and want to be in life. And so between them three, I really just have grown and seen how they empower and inspire others, and that's kind of why I leverage who I am so much to other people, because I just want to do the same thing that other people have done for me. People paved the way for me, and I want to do the same thing and give back and inspire and empower others. And that's why I love coaching so much, because it gives you that access. It creates that culture. And if it wasn't for people doing that for me, then I wouldn't be where I am today. So I want to just do the same thing for people. I want to pay it forward.
Right. And I'm glad that you talked about Kobe and then the Black Panther, and you talk about just showing up and being who you are every day, because my two figures are historical figures, being a history buff, and they're probably the most two controversial figures in American history. And number one would be Abraham Lincoln. And because Abraham Lincoln stood up boldly and did something he didn't want to do, something he didn't believe in, but he knew the only way to win a war that we shouldn't be in was to do what was necessary. And the necessary was to free slaves. You're talking about an institution that had over 200, close to 250 years of, and they used to call it a peculiar institution, right? Because you had things in the Declaration of Independence that all men are created equal. You have equality in in parts of the Bible, and then at the same time you're owning people, right? Not and treating them like livestock. And he basically said, look, like a house divided cannot stand. So if we want to be a great country, this can no longer be here, and I'm going to do it, and it's going to be on my watch doing it. And it got him killed. You know what I'm saying? So you could go back and in history and talk, well, Abraham Lincoln was this and he was that, and he really didn't care about black people, whatever. He without sin cast the first stone. It's not me to judge his character. All I know is his decision was that mama mentality. His decision was, I have to do what's necessary. While we're talking about necessary, the other controversial figure is Malcolm X. By any means necessary. He was the guy that said that Black empowerment was necessary for us to be successful in this country, that we didn't need white society, because he thought to himself like, hey, we're the people that can entertain, we're the people that can play sports, we're the people that can do this, we know how to fix our own car, we could teach ourselves, we know how to read, we're smart, we come from African kings and queens. Like that was his by any means necessary, meaning we don't need white society. And if they want to come and take society from us, then we will meet them with the same violence that they put on our community. But that militant way of thinking only became more divisive and really didn't push any it didn't push any and it seemed to not push black people in the direction of positivity faster, because it was met with more aggression. So his thing was, I'm militant, but he got too militant, said something about President Kennedy when he died, and the chickens coming home to roost, and he got silenced by his militant um, uh, organization he was part of. But then he goes on and he goes to Mecca, which is the homage that you have to pay when you are a Muslim. And he goes to Mecca, visits there, and realizes Muslims aren't just black. They're white people. They're brown. They're yellow. He called them yellow. They're all types of people. This is about love. And when he came back, he changed his name, right? He became El Shabazz. His thing was, this is what my faith is really about. This is what I should be teaching. Then he reaches across the aisle and a person he criticized, and Martin Luther King, and he starts to connect with them. And then they start building this bridge. And that's when things start getting scary for people. People are like, oh, now they're not going in two opposite directions. Let them squabble it out. Now they're empowered to come together. And like I used to say when I was coaching, which is stronger, the five fingers of the mighty fist. So when they start connecting, they start getting together, they start getting on the right page, they start empowering their community and spreading the love culture. That's when things got scary in history. So when I say both of those individuals, because I know they're so controversial, and trust me, if anybody's listening, they're gonna be like, oh, here he go again. But at the same time, I think in my life, that's kind of how I like to stand up too. Like I like to stand up like, hey, when I worked in Panama City Beach, I'm like, I am the beach, right? This is my community. This is my program. These are my kids. You know what I mean? We will be successful, or we will emulate success. You know what I mean? And those are the things that I preach to the younger generation. Those are the things that I taught in my class. The idea was to empower and to push those things into other people. And I think that's helped me out because I can see myself walking away from decisions that I could have made that could have trajected my life this way, but instead I'm moving along this way. Now I'm not here saying, oh man, Coach B got a bunch of money and I got a bunch of cash. Look at me, I'm paid. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying I live a nice, comfortable life because of decisions that I've made, that I've been empowered by being different and not someone else.
Before we move on, I want to just put this quote out there. My favorite movie is Coach Carter, and this quote has impacted my life since the first time I heard the movie. But he kept asking one of his players what his biggest fear was, and towards the end of the movie, the kid finally figured it out. And the quote from the kid is, "Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others."
Ooh, Marion Williamson. Hey, girl. All right. I like
Yeah.
that. So, what are some of the things you feel empowered to be?
Um, a, a mentor. I feel empowered to help other people realize their own uniqueness. I feel empowered to help other people understand how to use their life to be successful and inspire others around them. Really, it's nothing about me. Um, I just want I just have a passion for people and a passion for people to understand how important that they are, not only to society and the people around them, but to themselves. Like I want them to have a self-love that runs so deep that nothing will ever be able to run that well dry.
Mm,
Um, I want them to understand the grace of God. I want them to understand the love of God. I want them to understand that they're so valuable that God would send his only son as a sacrifice for the whole world so that their debt that they could never pay off would be paid.
mm,
You know, I want them to understand that's how important that they are. And I want to bring unity. I feel like I'm in a place where, or in a position, like my career is a position of unity.
mm,
Sports is a position of unity. Unifies blacks, whites, Asians, all different cultures, all different walks of life, all different genders, whatever, under one place where everybody's cheering for the same goal.
mm,
And I feel the more that we emulate that culture of sports in regular society and everyday life, the more powerful we will become, not only as a nation, but as a human race altogether.
mm,
And we always leverage love and area code 459. And if this culture can spread and reach not only our lives, but those even that we've never met before, then that's how that's my empowerment.
mm.
Like I'm loving you through, not through me, but through the other, through people that I've loved already and
Mhm.
continue to love. And that's what I feel empowered to do. It's never about me because like I've been through that. Like
Mhm.
I've made it this far. And I always, I don't remember who said it in one of our episodes, but they said when you get to the mountaintop, it's not that you stick a flag in there and you start celebrating, but once you get there, now you walk back down and you
Mhm.
start pulling people up. And so
Right.
that's what I feel empowered to do.
Right. And I'm the same way, man. My hopes and dreams and aspirations. And, you know, I think this last year I've really leveraged entrepreneurship. But the reason why I'm doing it is not because I just want to be an entrepreneur. But the idea is I want, other young men like myself that even have the same face as me, but at the same time, might not have the same face as me, can understand you can make it too. You can do this. And same way with young women. And that has been like my big thing that I really wanted to do is really build entrepreneurship up, but at the same time continue to leverage hopes and dreams for other people and say, hey, you can get there. There are going to be some circumstances, right? You talk about climbing that mountain. I've never seen a mountain range where it's just smooth sailing up the top or there's a ladder that you could just get all the way to the top. No, you're going to have to go down some winding roads, cut through some trees, climb some rocks, right? Um, I used to have this saying back when I was at the school level. I used to ask every kid their freshman, sophomore year, who wants to go to college? Okay. The next thing was who wants to go to college and play ball? Everybody would raise their hand about going to college, and about half, 50%, would say they want to play ball. Well, the first thing I did was I implemented a rule in my program. Since 100% of y'all want to go to college, you can't go to college without taking an ACT, SAT, or some type of placement test. Guess what you're going to do at the end of your sophomore year? You're going to do what you said you wanted to do. I'm going to empower you to know that this program is going to make sure you're college and career ready every time. The other thing was, for the 50% of the kids that wanted to play college ball, that percentage would usually shrink over the year. But about at the in towards the end of the year, getting into the off season, you'd probably have about 25% stick around, and those guys are the ones that I'm like, hey, this is a weight room every day. This is a gym 3 times a week, getting 500 shots up or 800 shots up, making 500. These are the things that you're gonna have to do. And with that being said, I gave those two examples because I want to continue to do that. Now that I'm not in the classroom anymore, I just was talking to a program here locally, and I said, hey, what can I do to help empower others, right? Not coach. That's not what I want to do. You have fun with those kids and their parents. What I want to do is how can I help that love culture? And the last thing, like you said, the love culture, I guess the last thing is I want to change relationships. I want to change the relationships. Relationships have been transactional for far too long. And we really need to become relational because in the Bible, that's what it talks about. It talks about relationship with your Lord Savior Jesus Christ, right? The only way that you can get to the Heavenly Father is through me. I am the way, truth, and the light. The idea is he's talking about the relationship with him. So if we leverage that, what would Jesus do mentality here in this country, right? How are you going to have a relationship with Jesus, but not have a relationship with your brother, right? And he says, do men lie to me? Yes, they do lie to me. Because, or he basically says, hey, you can't love me and hate your brother. That makes you a liar. You see what I'm saying? So you can't be transactional with people on earth and then at the same time get to the gates of heaven and say, let me in. It's just not going to happen that way. So the idea is that nobody says that you have to go out there kissing everybody, but the idea is that you really have to look at people, look deep inside people, and look at their value. Like you said, everybody has value regardless of what their value is. Everybody has value, and then show their potential. I was definitely talking to somebody about a week ago, and they were wearing all black on their Instagram. And I said, is everything okay? Because I saw, one picture, somebody was crying, they were in all black. So obviously they were at a funeral, putting two and two together. And I was thinking that, hey, it was a kid that I coached had passed. The first thing thought on my mind. Well, it wasn't. It was somebody had died in their family. But I was telling that mother that I was messaging. I said, hey, your son is still the best player I've ever coached, skill wise. But she knows on the back end of that is my son still was the one that didn't believe in you enough to make it to where he wanted to be, right? And I'm not talking about this kid's life and what he does now. Doesn't really matter. But the idea was I knew it back then that this kid was so talented. But at the same time, did I infuse enough love? Was there enough love from his community? Was there enough love from everyone else to say, hey, we're gonna get you to where you want to be? Because he never made it. And not everybody does, but at the same time, that family still knows that I care, and that family still knows that I'm there for them, and I will continue to empower anything that within reason that will make them push them to be successful. Last question, Caitlin. Here at Area Code 459, we really talk about love and inspiration. Um, how has this podcast been an empowerment for you? And what do you look for it to do for you and others in the future?
I think the most important thing it's done for me is giving me a voice. It has allowed me to put myself out there. Um, I'm not one to like to be in front of the camera, but it's given me confidence and a sense of comfortableness in front of a camera, because I never know if I'm going to have to be in front of one later on in life, especially as a coach. I don't know what God has for me when it comes to my career. So it's allowed me to learn how to be more articulate, and taught me how to be a better communicator and get my points across simple and easy. So I think that's how this podcast has empowered me, and what I look for to do others in the future, the same thing. We've leveraged a lot of younger people, a lot of young assistant coaches, that might not necessarily have the opportunities to speak to people or you share their stories, or even be in front of a camera and get interviewed. And so I think our platform has allowed them to one, be interviewed and go through that process, but at the same time find a way to use their voice and share their story, not only to the people that they're around, but to those in our community that listen, to all of you guys that listen. And I think that's important, is leveraging stories, because every guest that we've had on this show has had a life that we can relate to, but a lot of stuff we've never had to go through. So I think it's important for our listeners to know that they're not alone, that there are people that have been through what they've been through, and that'll ultimately inspire and empower them too. So I think just our platform as a whole, it's a trickle down effect. It
Mhm.
starts with us, then it comes from our guests on the show, and those that listen find it empowering.
And I'm the same way. I feel like this podcast has inspired me and empowered me to, continue to be a mentor and a big brother, and give another person that I care about an opportunity um, to work at something, to own something, to take ownership of something, and to really thrive. I feel like you've had that moment where you've thrived in this situation, and I really feel blessed to do that. The other thing is it's given me patience, because as I've studied like podcasting, everybody has podcasts now, it seems like, as I studied media relations and communications, and just looking at some different things. I was looking at one guy today, he's a comedian, and he's just now getting his break in 2020, but he's been doing videos since like 2016, so like 4 years now. And now people are like listening to his voice, because some people are looking for inspiration, or some people are looking for something funny, or somebody's looking for something in his time, and something he did caught their eye. But I was listening to his interview, and his thing was, I remain authentic. And that's what I like about this, is we definitely remain authentic. We definitely keep it real. I'm so glad that we're leveraging young voices, because some people aren't. People want to get the Coach Calipari's, and people want to get the Coach Krzyzewski's, and people want to get Bill Belichick's and Nick Saban's, and people with those type of names that we might not get today. You know what I mean? But at the same time, we just had Trent Forrest, who kicked us off, who now has a two-way contract to the Jazz, right? That's awesome. We talked to Miss Calamity, right? Coach Calamity. She was right under Pat Summit. you know, by far the greatest coach that's ever coached the game of basketball, right? Coach Kevin Sutton, who's won gold medals with USA basketball. You know what I mean? And friends like Manny Boone, Kyle Gilreath, guys that we have just had so much opportunities, and women that we had so much opportunity to talk to, and to just hear their stories. And the thing is, they do have a voice, and they're going to have the opportunity to get in front of the camera sooner or later. And they will remember, I remember what it was like when I got to interview with 459, with CB, RB, and how much fun it has. We always get this, these great reviews coming back from our guests and saying, man, I had so much fun. Like, it definitely opened my eyes. It definitely helped me talk. It definitely helped me articulate. I got to tell my story. I got to leverage the same things I tell my players. I got to do it. I was talking to you in a conversation. I said, as an assistant coach, right? And the first thing you do is you always align with your coach. But the second thing you do is you find your best player and make sure that you're giving him the gems and nuggets for him to be successful. It's kind of like the same thing with these coaches. Like, they come on here and they have the gems and nuggets too, but they don't get to say it out loud because they might be the third assistant, or they might be a GA, or, they might be just up and coming. So they're a volunteer manager, right? And Area Code 459 is a community. It's for everybody. We're here to love and inspire and to empower others. So I just wanted to continue to do that. And for those of you guys that are listening, or, will listen in the future, we're here to stay. I think I saw something the other day. It was like something like Kanye West came in there and he had 500 like cuts of something. You know what I mean? Another guy, did communication, did a show. He had 300 cuts of something. The guy I told you, comedian on Instagram, he's been doing it for 4 years before he got his break. And as long as God bless and give us the energy to keep doing what we do, we're going to keep doing what we do. But, at the same time, that patience is coming, or that patience, and then our time is coming. So, I think that we have something good going. I think that it's going to continue to grow and continue to blossom. And I love Area Code 459. All right. At the end of the podcast, we always huddle up and we, give people, just our call to actions. It's something that they could, leverage and take to the next episode, or also, take in their daily lives. What do you got for them, CB?
Don't cover up your light. Let it shine bright before you, and find a way to lift yourself up. And as you lift yourself up, lift other people up as well.
Absolutely. And mine is going to be, empowerment is just different to different people. And it's about experiences, it's about circumstances, about hopes and dreams. I rattled off a list of things that you can do. I'm going to definitely rattle them off again. Write them down. These are some things you can do to involve and empower others. You can speak and act with honesty. You can have conversations and listen to others. You can help illustrate your points with visual aids, getting things out there, book, podcast, starting something of your own. You could teach a class. You can get involved in your community. You can mentor others, especially children and the next generation, or you can volunteer at local organizations. Get out there, do something, act today, right? Do not let your hopes, dreams slip away because of your circumstances. Go ahead and hit them with your motto, CB.
Don't discount your value, and let's get 1% better every day.
And remember, we're building relationships over transaction. Remember, Coach B loves you. Let love be the frequency. I'm out.